see if this works. All right, and we are live on YouTube. Hey everyone, welcome back to Morning Cup of Joe with Joe Saz and Tom Vays here at PorcFest in Lancaster, New Hampshire. I know we haven't done much price in the last couple of days. We do have a live audience. We're gonna spend less than 5 minutes talking about the price of Bitcoin, and then we're gonna move on with our normal show to the audience. So the mics are coming back. Hey, thank you everyone. Hopefully more people will come and sit down and learn about Bitcoin. But real quick, I'm gonna go over to screen share, and I'm having a little bit of trouble loading charts on TradingView, guys. I know the audience can't see it, but just a quick analysis because we do care about the price. Joe, you can look at my screen as well. Like I said, less than 5 minutes on this, where the weekly candle is not looking very good. You guys can see that today is already Friday, and this weekly close could be lower than any other weekly close. That is a bearish sign. Even though you do have a bit of a rally in the second half of the week is not yet over. So if this candle closes closer to the moving average, which is closer to $30,000, that is a very ugly looking candle for significantly lower price probability for the next few weeks. The daily chart, I expected this candle to be the ultimate bottom if we would have capitulated today. There's still time. There's still about 7 hours, but I don't believe we're going to drop into the mid $20,000 range. Currently sitting at 33, but there is weakness. As I've been saying the last couple of days, this is the worst kind of MRI buy opportunity you can get with this indicator, and I was not trusting it. We are pulling down today, but we would need to go all the way down below 31,500 in order to print an official MRI buy, which we probably won't. And to me, this is not a good sign. I don't like this continued consolidation at the bottom. I would not be happy if we're closing the week below 33,000, because then I would say that we have not bottomed out yet for this mini bear cycle. Joe, your thoughts real quick?
Yeah, so I'm looking at this. We had some really good buying at this exact range, and so this is what happens when the market comes down fast, and it comes up fast. Then you have a lack of liquidity in the order book. You don't have any liquidity. You don't have bids and asks, right? So you have a lot more volatility. Prices, I call it rolling out the red carpet, because price can easily swing due to slippage in one direction or another, because this is a particularly emotional market right now. So I'm looking at this right now, and it's like there's a couple nice looking bottomy zones, a couple nice price ceilings, but right now the market is just after tapping those bottoms and breaking through to 29K, I'm looking at the support that we should have in this range, and it's just not even there. So we're kind of
did we just break down $500?
We're spiraling out of control right now.
We're at 32.6. Yeah, wow, it's happening just as we speak.
Yeah, we went down like a G.
Well, this is the problem. My charts are not updating. I think I have a little bit of an internet issue because look, I have a timer going, but the price isn't moving. What's the price right now?
32,599.
Right, I have 33,000. So this is not good, but unfortunately I can't see it. The internet here is not allowing me to update TradingView. So that kind of sucks. All right, let's move on with the morning show, guys. We're gonna cut the screen share and we're gonna talk to the audience. We will. Any topics you guys would like us to cover this morning? General topics.
Well, I actually had a quick question. What charts are you guys looking at?
We're looking at the chart price of Bitcoin because we're both traders and we're both technical analysts. So we trade based on mathematical chart patterns.
And so do you have to buy a subscription to look at those charts? Or
no, well, not from us. We're looking at them on TradingView is just very popular to look at charts. You can use it for free. It's just annoying to use for free, kind of like YouTube is annoying to use for free with all those ads, but if you pay them $10 a month, you never watch an ad again. So you don't have to pay to look at the price and charting of Bitcoin. You generally may want to pay for education if you're looking to be a trader, though there are free educational resources. One of them is on my website. There's a learn trading section that is totally free, but that's for those that want to be traders. But other than that, like on every day, I try to cover the price of Bitcoin because otherwise I'd have no audience to teach them about Bitcoin. Everyone just wants to know where the price is going.
Yeah, one thing about that is, a lot of people don't realize that trading is pretty much a losing game for 95% of people. And I've been trading for a number of years now, and this market was really good, and it's like, I know it sounds like a little crazy, but it's like after all this heat and the market's in this like complete state of disarray, the market's in a complete state of disarray right now. This makes it really hard to like see that, as a trader, you have to repetitively be a 5%er. 95% of people are going to be losing, and 5% of people are going to be winning. So, it's times like this where you really need to be knowing like that your dollar cost average strategy is going to be beating 95% of the market. Like you're going to be safe, you're going to be, obviously dealing with the volatility as needed, but you're not going to be overexposed like most traders would be in a situation, threatening yourself with liquidation or any other thing like that. So my advice is, as a if you're going to look at charts, the only thing I do, recommend with my signals or something like that is to use the buy signals as maybe a double down on a DCA. If like you have a sick buy signal and it's like, even if it's a even if it's a dud, it's still worth doubling down on a buy signal because statistically you're going to be right. So I just encourage people, don't try to download trading or like, create an account. And like if you want to learn some TA just to have a general understanding of what price is doing, hell yeah, like it's good to understand markets, it's good to understand market structure, it's good to understand supply and demand. And all these things can be taught just from, just staring and looking at a chart here and there. But don't try to walk in without a strategy and pretend you're going to be a 5%er over and over and over again, 10, 25, 100 trades in a row to make a living. So that's just my advice is after trading for so many years and going through this last cycle, it's like I feel tired, you know.
Yeah, trading is it's a job. It's a job like any other job that involves the probability of losing money. Very few jobs involve the probability of losing money, right?
95% chance of losing money.
Right, but just in general, like the way people earn a living, they don't actually lose money in it. So whether you're doing construction, mowing a lawn, doesn't matter. Whatever your job is. Now, if you are a business owner and you start your own business, yes, there is a probability your business will lose money. But trading is more like playing poker, where there's skill involved, and there is a lot of probabilities involved, and there is some intuition involved, and you have to be better than the guys you're going up against, and it's a very similar skill set. Now, as far as understanding what traders do with technical analysis like us, I mean, it's not bad to just learn it, just to know what it is. It's kind of like I always want to take like a sommelier class so that when I'm at a restaurant, like I kind of have an idea of how to order a good bottle of wine, right? It's not, I'm not going to make a career out of it, right? But it's just a good skill set to kind of just know. So, if you're interested in investing, I mean, you should learn technical analysis just so you know. It doesn't mean you have to use it, but it's just a good skill to have, just to know it.
Yeah, and just one final thing on that is basically a lot of it is also common sense. If a market's super hot and it's going parabolic, you can just think about what causes a market to go parabolic: emotion. And if the market's emotional, then the emotions that you're getting on the upside are going to basically inverse, and you're going to experience the same exact thing for bears to the downside. So just from a logical perspective, markets end with euphoria. Euphoria for the bulls is I'm balling, I'm buying my Lambo, getting my rocket ship ticket to the moon, and I'm good, right? That's euphoria for the bulls. Laser eyes, Twitter, everyone throwing out Bitcoin for free, right? 10 sats, $10 in Bitcoin for if I get to 50,000 follower type tweets, all that kind of stuff. So euphoria is how a market usually ends, but also on the bottom end, it's euphoria as well. But for the bears, for the people like I don't even like to say people, for the idiots like Peter Schiff, who've been consistently saying since 2013 that Bitcoin's a scam and it's going to fail you, and he's probably lost, thousands of people, tens of millions of dollars, being that dumb. But anyways, his euphoria would be Bitcoin's crashing, and by the time he's saying I was right this whole time, F you guys, Bitcoin's freaking going to zero. That's when you start buying. That's the bear market bottom, and the bear bull market top is when everyone's super stoked.
All right, guys. So Joe and I like talk trading all the time on our YouTube channels. I'd rather spend the time educating about Bitcoin, but we don't know what the skill level. Some people are completely brand new to it. Maybe some people have been around a little bit longer. What general topics you want us to cover as far as understanding of Bitcoin, altcoins, general economy? Just give us a topic to cover, and we're happy to cover it.
What are some alternative methods of obtaining Bitcoin?
I'm sorry, alternative methods of
Obtaining Bitcoin.
obtaining Bitcoin.
Like there's obviously you can go to exchange or purchase it.
Right. Obtaining Bitcoin is not that different than obtaining gold. So you have many options. You can buy it through your credit card from an intermediary, but when you do that, obviously there is a record of you purchasing the gold. You can walk into a gold shop, or you can do a silver guy right there. You can walk into a gold shop and buy it in cash. That gives you a little bit more anonymity at buying the Bitcoin. There are Bitcoin ATM machines, but there is generally a record of you buying it as well. It depends how anonymous you want to be in purchasing Bitcoin. You can mine it, but that's you have to be specialized. You can mine gold as well, right? But very few people do. Mining Bitcoin is, I would say, a little bit easier than mining for gold at the moment, but it's also an effort. The easiest way is to find Bitcoiners that are willing to sell Bitcoin, and they do exist. They exist for two reasons. One of the reasons is it's kind of they've made a job buying and selling Bitcoin, which has gotten some people in trouble because when you charge a percentage on profit, you're supposed to register as a money services business. That's just bad regulation. Hopefully, some new politicians will come in and remove that horrible regulation. But for now, but that's not your concern, that is their concern, right? So there are people that sell Bitcoin for a living, and then there are people that have, earned Bitcoin or continue to earn Bitcoin, and they live on Bitcoin, and those people will generally sell it to you at the current price of Bitcoin. You just gotta find those people. Bitcoin meetups all around the world is a good place to meet these people.
Yeah, and one other thing, like we were kind of talking about how, like, I'm getting tired of trading, right? And one thing that's like a big thing that people don't realize they can do to make Bitcoin is just trade your goods and services for Bitcoin. Instead of taking a dollar, take half of it in dollars and take half of it in Bitcoin if you can. Like I'm thinking more and more about it, and it's like the way to, like, mining. You can't really get into the business of mining. It's kind of a, right now I don't even think you can find a mining rig. If you're lucky, you might get a handful, and then you might be able to contribute that hash to a mining pool, and you might be able to stack some stats. But I'm finding that the best way to make Bitcoin is actually to help build the ecosystem and make goods and services valuable relative to Bitcoin. So I know this is going to be like a little plug right now, but this is the Embly Bitcoin Lounge, and I'm the CEO of Embly. And so as I'm going through this process of reducing, as a CEO, I have a lot of responsibilities, and I used to be a trader, stay up 3 days in a row, didn't eat, didn't sleep, right? And this was regular. And now I'm working hard, and I'm like, look, I'm living 10 times less stressful of a life in terms of the trade, and I'm making Bitcoin. I'm making Bitcoin, and I don't have to worry about mining, and I don't have to do all this math about mining and all this stuff. I say, make your goods and services worth Bitcoin. Try to get your pay in Bitcoin, whatever you can do. And if you're making money flipping burgers at McDonald's, put $10 a week in Bitcoin. Whatever you can do to get Bitcoin, just keep accumulating it. Ideally peer to peer, and ideally relative to goods and services that you can provide.
Yeah, that really is the best way. I mean, everyone earns money somehow. And if you are an independent business yourself, just offer the Bitcoin option. And I'm sure whatever it is you're selling, if you get 10% of those sales in Bitcoin, hold on to that Bitcoin for a few years. That like becomes your, because we all know Social Security ain't gonna pay you at the end.
What about the guy? There was a guy, we were hearing a story when we first got here, a guy that came here and would save up his entire years worth of money, like, you know, his savings that he had. He would throw it all down on hamburgers, buns, cheese, and fucking work a booth over here in 2011 or something like this. For 4 years he did this and was accepting Bitcoin payments, and everyone that knows about this guy has not heard anything about him for 10 years or whatever now. This dude is probably living on his own private island with a yacht, having flipped burgers, accepting Bitcoin as payment, saving his entire, you know, working a year to come to PorcFest and do this and provide this service for people, and was taking Bitcoin, and now no one's heard of him. This dude is gone. He's off the map and he's rich as hell.
Right. A lot of people were selling stuff here for Bitcoin as far back as 2011, where Bitcoin was $1. So cups of coffee were going for multiple Bitcoins.
A hamburger for 10 bucks, 10 coins.
Yeah. And you think it's too late now with Bitcoin at $30,000 a coin? It's not. It's not, because the majority of the people still can't freaking understand it, most of whom are actual economists. And so it's not too late. I mean, it's too late to be a multi-millionaire for selling burgers at PorcFest, but it's not too late for those sales to make sure you don't have to work again after the age of 60. You know, it's still plenty of room for that, okay? Because there's still a few 10x that Bitcoin will do. So there's still plenty of time. So that's really the best way. And also, if you have a job for a boss, there are companies out there where there's middleman for everything. I know everyone thinks that blockchain is going to eliminate middleman. Middlemen aren't always bad. Like, how is the following middleman bad? You have a job that pays you in fiat and they send you a check. You redirect this paycheck to a middleman company, and they take your paycheck and then they send you the Bitcoin equivalent of that paycheck minus a very small fee. You don't have to do anything, right? Like, middlemen aren't always bad.
Any questions from the audience, sir?
So as a small business owner, how do I set myself up to accept Bitcoin?
That's a really good question.
Good question. I'll repeat the question. As a small business owner, how do I set myself up to accept Bitcoin? Well, what forms of currency do you accept now?
Check, cash, credit card.
You take a check, like a paper check?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's rare, but some people do get those.
So I'm assuming your business is an in-person business. Someone comes and sees you in person. Most
Yeah,
sales.
it's a Pilates studio, so it's all service. It's no product.
Right. So it's similar to a gym. Okay. So you take cash, check, or credit cards.
Mostly credit cards, but
How do you accept the credit card payment?
it's through Square.
Through Square. Okay. Square doesn't have a accept Bitcoin yet, right? You can buy Bitcoin from Square, right? So the Square app allows you to buy Bitcoin. So the simplest thing to do is you're already on Square. You have money on Square. You can just buy some Bitcoin from Square. If you wanted to accept payments, since when people pay with credit cards, do they have a subscription or do they have to pay every time?
It's individual sessions, so they buy packages of singles, fives.
Oh, perfect, easy. So all you gotta do is download a Bitcoin wallet on your phone, and then when they come to pay or buy the package, you just tell them, hey, I'm also accepting Bitcoin. And if they want to pay you in Bitcoin, it takes 3 seconds, open up a wallet, they scan it with their phone, and they pay you in Bitcoin.
Honestly, say I'll take 5% off your top or 10% off the top, and I'll take Bitcoin.
Yeah, give them a little discount. You encourage them to pay you in Bitcoin. Give them a 5-10% discount.
Yeah, it's going to be a good way to get things started for you, and it's going to be a good way for you to actually receive real money instead of fake fiat. So like, obviously you want to get a wallet. I think you should have dual functionality. Make sure you can accept Lightning payments, and make sure you can accept on-chain payments. Make sure you can trust the people, so you can just say, hey, send me a low-fee transaction. Don't worry about going the next block. Just get the transaction through is all you're worried about. So yeah.
But those are minor details. But if you want to see how it's done, just stick around here today, and we'll help you download a wallet on your phone that's not a scam, and yeah, we'll show you how the process works.
Yeah, it's easy, and then if you offer an incentive, I know a lot of people that are doing this now that COVID's ending, and a lot of people in a lot of businesses are opening back up now that had a lot of large crowds and stuff like that. And so they're saying like, 20% off if you pay in Bitcoin, because look, Bitcoin just crashed to 30K from 60. This market, this bear market might still be on, but people are trying to get Bitcoin right now. Like, this is a good accumulation zone. Whether or not we go lower, it's still a great accumulation zone relative to 60K.
So I just Googled on my phone when the gentleman asked the question. It looks like, at least according to Google, that you can't accept Bitcoin directly from Square. So I look into it. The Square app may have an option in there for you to enable Bitcoin payments. So you can do it that way as well, or you can do it the way Tone was saying. There's multiple options.
There is, again, it's a convenience versus privacy.
Yeah.
So if you let Square accept Bitcoin, then Square is actually in control of your Bitcoin. It's kind of like you're allowing people to pay in gold, but Jack Dorsey and Square is holding the gold for you, right? Now, you could request that gold from them to yourself, but they still know that you had it, and they know how much you have. So if ever things happen in the future, there have been records, right? When Bitcoin is like cash, you accept cash as well, and that's generally way more anonymous than going through Square. Bitcoin is the same way. Bitcoin is digital cash. So you could make your life easy and accept it through Square, or you can also make your life easy, spend a day, or less than a day, a few hours, but spend maybe an hour understanding how to use it, a day or two of practice, and then you can accept it directly without any middleman.
Yeah, I could teach all of you how to do it in 3 minutes. It's not hard to accept Bitcoin payments. And if you wanted to make it complex and do something like what Tone does, where he has webinars and people are paying from all over the globe for his webinars, there's BTC Pay Server. You don't want to use BitPay, you want to use BTC Pay Server. That's for much more complex stuff.
Yeah,
all you need is a hot wallet, and you need someone with the camera on their phone to scan your wallet and just send the coin, and you're good to go. That's the best way to do it. And stay off the grid. Don't use anything that has a name on it if you don't have to.
Yeah, there's really no one simple solution for everyone. Everyone is unique and different. So if you do have like a large business that takes a lot of payments, now it's like, are those payments big or small? If your business relies on a lot of small payments, like you're selling stickers, bumper stickers, you really need to look into the Lightning Network, because Bitcoin transactions are not for you. I'm pretty sure your Pilates studio transactions, smallest transaction is maybe $25. Most transactions are probably a package of 10, maybe a few $100. Right now, on-chain Bitcoin is okay for you. But those that are selling $3 items, you got to go straight to Lightning, because the fees will absolutely kill you. And if you are doing a lot of transactions, like a lot of large transactions, you have a business that's selling $50 items and higher, and you're selling a lot of them, multiple sales a day, you do want to look into a more automated solution through something like BTC Pay Server, which is a bit open source, because unlike a bank account where you have the same bank account number all throughout, you can do that with Bitcoin. You can display, like you're seeing them all over PorcFest, like, hey, pay me in Bitcoin, and it's the same exact number. So everyone is paying into the same number. That is not very private, right? So you want a brand new, imagine every time someone made a bank payment, they're paying into a different bank account number. That's what a Bitcoin wallet can actually does. Every time you open it for someone to pay, they pay into a whole new address. And that's the only payment that will ever go in that address. Now, that account number works forever. But the next time you open the app, it'll give you a new one. It doesn't mean the old one stops working. The old one is still there. That same person that paid you, if he holds on to it, he can pay into it again in the future. But these numbers are pretty much infinite. They have a lot of
10 to the 77th number of
there's a lot of variations there. So for privacy reasons, you create a brand new number for people to send money into every single time when you open that app. So an automated online solution for that is this open source donation funded project called BTC Pay Server, because the middleman that was doing it before tried to do something kind of shady, and one of the Bitcoin developers, he basically sent out a tweet. He didn't say "F you" in the tweet, but it was this famous tweet is like, "What you are saying are lies. I will make you obsolete." And no one really knew what that meant, except this guy is like, "I'm gonna drop everything I'm doing, and I'm gonna destroy this company that could potentially be $1 billion company, but by doing what they're doing and doing it for free for everyone." And about a year later, he did.
Yeah, this community is quite beautiful. When you see some of the the cypherpunks coming out, like they hit hard when they stop trains.
His name was Nicholas Dorier, by the way. Great guy.
So I know we answered the hell out of your question. I hope everyone got something out of that. We're still gonna just kind of like roll with audience kind of stuff. Yeah, general vibes. What's up?
This question is for Tone. Tone, when are you gonna have Lightning payments enabled on your website?
Very soon.
Repeat the question.
Oh yeah. Question is, when is my website gonna have Lightning payments? So I hope my web developer is watching. Yeah. So we are looking to do that. We're gonna start putting in Lightning payments probably this
There's
summer.
the Lightning guy that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
We're gonna
get him
bring him
back up
back.
here.
Oh my goodness. So good.
Yeah, I do plan on doing that. Well, I should get more into Lightning. It's just that every time I start to say to myself, all right, Bitcoin transactions are becoming slow and expensive. I need to get on Lightning. Suddenly they become fast and cheap again. And I'm like, I'm gonna get lazy again for another month or two. But the next time I gotta do it. I gotta do it.
So all right, yeah, everyone needs to get on. Everyone absolutely should. Like, we're at the day and age where Lightning should be like a 101 type topic, at least the basic understanding of it. So everyone should. I strongly recommend getting a wallet that has dual functionality, and the wallet that I suggest, because I've used it, so I know it works. I know there's tons of great wallets out there, but I use Blue Wallet, one word. And you can download that, create your wallet. And the couple that just left, I showed them how easy it was. They downloaded the wallet. I sent them 1 Satoshi on the Lightning Network, 0 fee. And by the time we turned our head from one phone to the next, it was paid. So the Lightning Network is the payment layer. It's where Bitcoin 101 should be, include Lightning Network topics now.
Oh, we got a question from the live chat. What is required to do Lightning payments? I don't know, half a day of studying and learning. That's pretty much the only requirement.
It's even easier than that. I got these guys that they left here by now, but I had them we're at PorcFest, obviously. We're in the middle of the forest, so it took a second for the app to download. But after the app downloaded, it took 30 seconds to get this done with someone that knows what they're doing, and it doesn't even, I don't even need to know much about what I'm doing. So honestly, the learning curve on Lightning Network, if you want to go down the rabbit hole, it's freaking parabolic. It's intense, but if you want to use it, it's not hard at all.
Yeah, no, but I it's not hard, but like, here's the thing. Downloading a Bitcoin wallet for a stranger and sending them 30 cents doesn't mean that they're ever going to use that thing again, so that's why I say it's a little more than that. Like, you may not want to go down the rabbit hole where you do nothing but like watch videos for a week, but you actually want to spend a little bit of time like practicing with it, finding another friend that has it, sending transactions to each other. Like, to me, if you're not actually spending a couple of days playing around with the Bitcoin wallet or the Lightning Bitcoin wallet that you just installed, you might not do it again until 3 months later. And 3 months later, now you got to remember which wallet you downloaded. Do you still remember the password? So it's a little more than 5 minutes of getting it. Like, this is why, like, back in the day, I used to go significantly out of my way to like download someone a Bitcoin wallet and send them 10 and 20 bucks. And in my experience, 90% of that money just went down the drain. Like, unless that person is really, really interested, like, I just explain it to them. I try to send them to my YouTube channel. I try to explain to them why they should use it. But I have not been spending a lot of time actually setting up their wallet. Well, like, when it's really important to a person, they'll figure out how to do it.
Can I come on and tell us the Lightning story?
Sure, fashion posts come up.
And let's before as Patrick's coming up, is there any other topics that people are like really interested in right now? Because this is kind of like a morning show where we don't quite have an agenda. Well, sir.
Oh, wait.
I just wanted to. All right, we'll get to that.
Yeah, well, we
We'll
spoke a
get to
lot
that.
about that yesterday. We'll get to that after.
So, real quick point, what Tone was saying.
Can we also like get you closer?
What Tone was saying, I just want to tell a quick story from yesterday. So yesterday I had a gentleman who was selling handmade pens for $4 each, and I wanted to get one of them, but I wanted to pay him in Lightning. So he said he was willing to learn. So we did what Tone was talking about. We downloaded a Lightning a Blue Wallet onto his phone, and it took a second. I just sent him the $40 in Sats, and it went right through right away. To my knowledge, this was a historic occasion because I believe this was the first time something was purchased at PorcFest with Lightning. So so it was a really cool moment. But what Tone was talking about is correct. If you do want to do a deep dive on Lightning and really learn the technology and just to know it as kind of like an amateur or a hobbyist or try to work towards being an expert, there's a lot of resources online for you, and I want to plug one of them. There's something called PlebNet Online, where there's a lot of hobbyists and Bitcoin enthusiasts that are really interested in Bitcoin and Lightning, that they join these groups and they open up Lightning wallets they open up Lightning channels with other fellow plebs. So if you want to join PlebNet, I'm going to give them a quick plug. They meet on Clubhouse, they meet on Telegram, they have a GitHub. Best way to find them is to go to kycjelly.com. That's kycjelly.com. It's a little bit of a joke there. So you go to kycjelly.com, that'll take you to their Telegram group, and you can join their Telegram group there. And there's people in there that will help you set up your Lightning node. So if you just want to take a quick payment at PorcFest, you can download Blue Wallet and do that right away. But if you really want to learn the technology, which is what Tone recommends and what I recommend, and you want to do a deep dive and really learn the stuff, go link up with other fellow plebs who are trying to learn Lightning and do it that way.
And look, and what Patrick has said is a bit of an exception. Like if someone comes up and is like, hey, I really want to learn Bitcoin, so if you like help me set up a wallet, I'll buy like $200 worth of Bitcoin right now. I'm like, yeah, that person is probably going to care about that wallet because $200 isn't $10. But the days of me sending people, $5, $10 in Bitcoin just to get them to download the app, I don't really do that anymore. I just don't see it worth it. I'll just explain it to them. I'm like, hey, if you want to download the wallet, but just think about it. It gets reinforced. They hear little details from me. Maybe they'll come to the YouTube channel. They'll see it on the news more and more. More people are talking about it. Like it constantly like resonates.
So the gentleman in the back had a question about security between the difference in security between a hot wallet and a cold wallet. Like a phone wallet is what you're referring to as a hot wallet, right? And the cold wallet is pretty much a paper wallet or a tracer or some sort of device, right? I'm going to kind of make it simple from my perspective. I know we can, we've been going down the rabbit hole a little bit on some of these topics, but I'm going to kind of simplify this. Security is almost the same to me in any case. If the Bitcoin is on you, then security is on you. It's on you to manage your security of your Bitcoin. If the security is if you're talking about a cold wallet, security is on you. You still need to, place your mnemonic phrase in a in a safe place. You have to hide it. You have to make sure you remember where you hid it. You have to make sure that your device is in a safe or something that can't get accessed easily or won't get discovered. So to me, it's maybe from a technical perspective there might be some differences, and that's like a really like a more of a wrappable discussion. But security is always on the Bitcoiner, always. Whether you're paper wallet, whether you're cold storage using a tracer or a ledger, after Ledger leaked all the usernames and emails and addresses, like that just proved even further. Like security is always on the burden of security is always on the Bitcoiner. You are your own bank. So the same way that in the 1800s and 17, whatever, right? Bank robbers would come around and take money out of a bank, right? Well, you're kind of your own bank, so think like that. You're in charge of your Bitcoin. So A, you have to worry about how you store your Bitcoin and make sure you remember how you've done it. B, you got to make sure that you're ready to defend that Bitcoin. So, I to me, it's a twofold move, always.
Yeah, everything is a trade-off. We talked a lot about this yesterday. If you want to, on the Tone-Based YouTube channel, if you want to catch the same show from yesterday, either the morning one or the afternoon one. And, it's all a trade-off, right? There is a hardware wallet right there. You can purchase it right here, and now you bought that wallet anonymously, but there's a slightly higher risk that something happened to that wallet, though it can happen to it in transit directly from the company. But the risk of buying it from the company is that the company has your records of you buying it, and those records leaked on the internet. So, you know, everything you do in Bitcoin has a trade-off risk. It's security versus convenience versus privacy. It's like a triangle of risks.
Is
I'm
the
sorry.
hot wallet private? To answer, if you the hot wallet, even if you bought it from an app store, maybe subscriber identity module XYZ Joe has Samurai wallet in his apps, but that only means that I have Samurai wallet in my apps. It doesn't mean that they are able to identify what transactions I'm using or what transactions are going through that wallet. I don't even think you can. I'm sorry. A little louder, please.
I say, with the increase of fingerprinting in the browser sphere, these things possibly could be used to trace people's apps.
So with the increase of like, let's say biometrics and stuff like that, you're saying that.
But that's your choice, right? The biometrics is your choice. I mean, you don't have to sign up for Clear at the airport.
He means different kind of fingerprinting. He's not talking about the biometrics. He's talking about browser fingerprinting.
Oh.
Metadata to track someone on browser versus.
Look, I can't even take a screenshot of my Samurai wallet. I don't think they really let anything out. There could be, some back doors around here, but
again,
there's people around the world looking at this stuff under microscopes.
It's convenience versus security. There are browsers, there are operating systems that you can live your life without Google. It's possible. All this stuff is there. You could you can buy an older version of a cell phone, you can wipe it clean, you can install, maps on it that are not from Google. You can install operating systems that are not Microsoft or Apple, iOS. Like, you can do it. You can use the Tor browser, which is significantly more privacy. But it's a very difficult life because these applications, they're not as stable, they're not as popular, they're not as fast. They're not Google searches, so they're not as accurate, but it's all doable, right? It's up to you. It's your convenience versus your privacy and or security. So it's as far as you are willing to learn how to get around these issues. And most people don't do it because it's a giant annoyance, but the tech's there.
Yeah, if you want to go Bitcoin gangster with it, then you're going to want to get like a Dojo full node running, and you're going to want to sync your wallet to your Samurai wallet to that, whether it's on your computer or your app. And it's like, that's going to cover up all your pay names, everything. Like I said, there's a lot of people looking at this stuff under a microscope, and everything gets found. Even like the little thing that happened with the Tracer cold wallet, it is like, if you happen to get physical, I won't even go into that. Start with the yellow hat. You have a question?
Yes, you just mentioned a node and getting that are relatively easy to just buy and
Yeah. Most nodes are pretty easy. They like the way a lot of the times a node is sold is like with a lot of the blockchain data on it already. So they'll like start syncing it, and then by the time you're buying it, and then maybe they'll sync it to a certain point, and then they'll ship it out. And by the time you plug it in, you're only trying to sync up like the past say 1,000 blocks or something. I don't know however many, but yeah, basically a node like something like from Samurai, like the Dojo node. Or like Casa Hodl, their node, the Casa node, which I don't know if they're in
No, they're pretty much done.
All right. I didn't know if they were still in the good graces or not. But yeah, if you got like a Dojo node, yeah, it would be a legitimate node, full node, and it would basically be a plugin, and it'll start synchronizing once it's connected to the internet because it already has the core protocols on it already.
So I know there's a lot of new people here in the audience. So I try to spend my time in explaining to people why they should run a node. So I kind of explain why people should do something. I don't spend too much time showing them and teaching them how to do it. Other people do that. I probably should do both, but there's only so much time and so much things one person can do. So
let me just to interrupt real quick. If you want to learn a lot of this stuff from the ground up, I highly recommend a man named BTC Sessions. His name is Ben. BTC Sessions on YouTube has videos on Lightning, videos on node setup. If you want to build your own node from a Raspberry Pi and some freaking I'm just saying, this guy he has all of it.
So
when the market, I just looked and it was around $800 to be honest. But
no, there's cheaper versions.
No,
cheaper. You can do Start
cheaper.
9 is probably one of the better solutions, about 200, 250.
You gotta remember, this was a bull market.
Right.
Shit went uphill.
So running a node is not for everyone, but here's what it does. So Bitcoin is decentralized money, and there are three elements that make it decentralized. One of them is the way the code of Bitcoin is maintained, and new functionality of Bitcoin is coded, and that's a decentralized effort between the developers. Very few people are capable of contributing to this because it requires you to be a very good developer, probably one of the best. I can't do it, and I used to code on Wall Street, and I'm not even close to even being able to figure this code out. So the other thing is mining. Again, most of us are not going to open a mining operation in Bitcoin the way we're not going to open a mining operation in gold. The only thing that a regular person can do to help keep Bitcoin decentralized is run a node, okay? So running a node helps decentralize the system because it's kind of like having your own counterfeit bill counter in your pocket. So all of you have accepted a $100 bill from someone, whether it's your friend or whether it's someone coming into your business. But how do you know that $100 bill is not counterfeit? You really don't, right? You kind of accepted that it's not counterfeit, and then you use it, hopefully that no one else calls you on it being counterfeit. And if it is, you're kind of stuck or potentially in trouble if you're walking in with a stack of $100 counterfeit bills. But anyway, a node allows you to have a counterfeit check in your pocket. You are your own check, not the bank. Like the bank checks if that bill is counterfeit by they take it through the machine. But with a Bitcoin node, you do it yourself. You enforce the rules of Bitcoin to make sure no one is sending you counterfeit Bitcoin. That's what your node does. When you don't have your own node to check if that Bitcoin is counterfeit, you are relying on the node of your wallet. So when you install a phone wallet, many wallets in your phone give you the option to connect to your own node. If you don't choose that option, the default is the wallet provider runs it through their node. Now, this is not generally dangerous because there is enough people that around the world that are running their own nodes, probably over 20,000 people. But if these 20,000 people became suddenly lazy, you now have only 5 people running this node, which is the problem with Ethereum. The reason why so many people run a Bitcoin node is because it's fairly simple. Not for everyone, not for people that don't want to take the extra time to learn it. Maybe some people aren't as technologically inclined, so they choose not to do it, or they're a little bit lazy. But there is enough regular people that can do it. But if people stop running their own nodes in their own home, and you just need a stable internet connection to do it, then you're relying on the nodes of the corporations that are providing you the Bitcoin infrastructure. These are known as economic nodes. So a company like Coinbase, a company that does your wallet, a company like a miner, these are economic nodes. And there's very few of them compared to regular people. So the more people run a node, the more decentralized the system is and the harder it is to change the rules. Because if only 5 companies are running nodes, you're going to be at the mercy of what those 5 companies think.
making money from running the nodes?
No.
Can you elaborate on the issue with Ethereum?
Sure.
Ooh, that's a favorite.
Collaborate on the issue with Ethereum and the nodes. So, how long have you been in the crypto space? Maybe 6 months. Okay. So, have you heard much about the 2017 scaling debates? Not really. Okay. I do. You're taking notes, which is great. So, there's actually a book recently published about the 2017 fork wars. And there's also a great video on the YouTube channel by a man named Bitcoin Mechanic. So he's also on my channel, on my news shows, joined recently. And he had a video about 6 months ago or something where that was a 1 hour recap of what happened in 2017. So in Bitcoin, you want me to keep going, Joe? Or you want to?
I can always talk trash about it. Like,
all right, let me.
I hate that. Ethereum is trash.
So the problem with the nodes in Ethereum is that Ethereum decided to be the world computer. And a world computer has to store a lot of data. Now, we can look at Google. Google bought YouTube. So between all the data that Google has and all the YouTube videos that Google stores, you can imagine how big of a warehouse Google needs to store all those videos. Those files, like, you may think that 2 gigabyte 4K video you upload to YouTube is not a big deal, but YouTube has to store all those videos for all the people on YouTube. They store it forever, but they store it in one place. That place is eventually going to be the size of this campground, right? I mean, people think that data storage is cheap and simple. It's not. So Bitcoin developers, including Satoshi himself, realized that data storage is an actual problem. It's always going to be a problem. And this is why Bitcoin limits the number of data on the Bitcoin blockchain. They limit it to 1 megabyte approximately every 10 minutes of storage. Now, 1 megabyte maximum every 10 minutes after 11 years of Bitcoin's existence has now added up to 350 gigabytes in size. Not a big deal. This laptop on this desk is a 2 terabyte hard drive. I can run a Bitcoin node on this laptop by downloading every single Bitcoin transaction that has ever taken place in history, and I still have plenty of space to spare on this laptop. Ethereum came out 5 years after Bitcoin. The cumulative size of the Ethereum blockchain is not 350 gigabytes like Bitcoin. It is now closer to 10 terabytes in size. No one even knows how much, and it's growing incredibly fast. So who maintains the history of every single transaction on Ethereum? No one in this campground, I guarantee you, okay? So, and it's not even 10 terabytes in size. Say, oh, no big deal. I'll just go to Best Buy and buy a 10 terabyte hard drive. What are you going to do in 3 years when it's 100 terabytes? Who is keeping this data, right? Who is validating their own transactions? Because you also have to maintain it and download it in real time. With Bitcoin, I just need to download 1 megabyte the moment it comes out in 10 minutes. Ethereum blocks are every 15 seconds, and they're getting big. Like, you really, probably within a couple of years, you would need like a 350 megabit per second download speed to even be able to keep up with downloading Ethereum history in real time, like the next set of transactions from the last 15 seconds. And this greatly discourages the average person's ability to run a node. And the less nodes there are, the less decentralized your system is. And if your entire blockchain is reliant on 3 nodes, those nodes can basically, it's centralized. It's like the government, basically. It's like a ruler.
I want to throw in one thing here because I remember following this story closely as it was happening. This was before it was 10 terabytes of, block weight or whatever. Ethereum was, a guy was trying to synchronize a node and he did this publicly, and it literally took him about 6 months to acknowledge the fact that he couldn't synchronize a node. He after trying to synchronize, the first, let's say, terabyte of information, he would run into a catastrophic failure, forcing the program to shut down. He'd have to delete it, reload it, and then start trying to sync the blockchain again. And after about 6 months of trying, this guy got even to the point where for a full month it was just trying to load up transactions. All it was doing was syncing, and for a full month, this guy hadn't even gotten yet to syncing to the node, like syncing to the blockchain in full. It was just in part, and then it experienced another catastrophic failure, and that happened like 3 times. I'm talking, you can go weeks while trying to sync to the network, and load up all the transactions in its entire history, and it simply puts you at a catastrophic failure point. At some point in time, you'll hit it, and you just cannot sync a node. So basically, what this leads to is a hierarchy. Nodes, I think basically what it is, what Tone said, centralization. To make it simple, it creates a hierarchy. It makes it so that very few node operants have a say on, improvement proposals and such. And what if they implement some sort of identity verification, or what if they implement something that's, shady? What if Vitalik and, Putin are BFF, and, Putin wants to try to take over the world with Ethereum, right? Who knows what's going to happen? There's just a lot of reasons why.
And this is the big concern. Like, the less developers are on your blockchain team, the less mining you have in your blockchain, the less nodes you have on the blockchain. You just don't know. Like, look, we're here at PorcFest, and a lot of people know. I mean, like, we all pay attention to the news, and look, the authorities infiltrate everything, and it's a lot easier to infiltrate something where you only have a small group of people in charge than if you have hundreds of eyes.
100%. Yes.
Node that you just mentioned, is it platform independent? I happen to be a Mac user. And the second question is besides the cost, which is any other downside to running a node?
So the question is, are nodes compatible with whatever operating software you're using? And despite cost, what was that second question?
Is there any
Risk.
downside?
Any risk of running a node?
Risk, or got to draw attention to yourself, etc.
Good questions. So it doesn't matter what operating system you're on, because like any old laptop can be a node. Like, that's the thing. You don't need to buy a special box. If you have an old laptop running around with 500 megabytes of hard drive space,
Gigabytes.
Yeah.
500 gigabytes of hard drive space, that laptop could be a node.
Yeah.
You can just download the history. It'll probably take you a couple of days, maybe a week, to download the history, and that's it. And you have to go through a little tutorial to open that node up for connections. If you want some more privacy on your node, you can run it through Tor. You want to say something?
Yeah, to answer your question directly, if you buy a node, I think if you buy, let's say, the Samurai node, you would buy I'm pretty sure they have one for Mac, or you would have to select which one you want it to run with. But the Bitcoin Core protocol is something that you can download, I think at bitcoin.org. And if you wanted to return a laptop, my laptop was, back in the day, I was running a node so that I could test out Lightning. Back when you had to do 50 steps to try to comprehend what it was, and you didn't even know what you were doing. So it's just you can run your own node on your laptop. You don't have to spend $1. But if you buy a node, I looked recently, and I'm pretty sure that you buy it specifically to whatever operating system you're trying to.
So the operating system doesn't really matter. Now, there are, I guess, the whole thing of Bitcoin, right? It's trustless trust. So you trust the fact that the system is trustless, and you have the ability to verify everything. Even as a non-technical user, there are plenty of programs out there and tutorials out there that let you verify this stuff, even as being non-technical. But you kind of do trust the people that have approved this kind of stuff. So when you buy a node, whether it's from Samurai, whether it's from Start9, and you are relying on their history of every single Bitcoin transaction, there is trust you're putting in that they are not cheating. but a lot of eyes are on them. So if they were cheating, you would know. But you can always just download it yourself as well. Which is probably the better way to do it. It'll just take you a little bit longer. But the important thing is, and even like the crypto space doesn't like it when I say this, including some of my friends in the crypto space, understanding why running a node is important is more important than running that node. The understanding of it is more important because understanding why you run a node keeps you from believing in magic currency some 18-year-old just created. I mean, it keeps you from believing that the world would be better if every single person had their own money. Like, it just makes no sense. They're all centralized. So you want to go down the rabbit hole of understanding why you should run a node and then decide if you actually want to, or you believe there's enough people running nodes to keep the system decentralized. Now, are there risks? Not at the moment, but potentially, right? So for example, some Bitcoin transactions are illicit, and your node maintains the history of every single transaction. So technically speaking, like the book, 3 felonies a day, like every single person commits 3 felonies a day, no matter what you do, because there are too many laws on the books. Technically, if you are running a node and you have every single Bitcoin transaction, and we know some Bitcoin transactions are illicit, technically every single node has an illicit transaction in it, at least one, somewhere in that node, obviously, because you have every transaction. Now, this is not enforced. There's nothing they can do. And if you know,
it's not like when you plug in a node, it's not like Joe's node is
right.
running, you know.
That's what I want.
Right.
Draw attention.
Yeah.
Not really. And the thing is, the majority of nodes in the world are in the United States. The United States has the most number of nodes. And yet the United States also has like the most number of laws on money, where your money is criminal and money transactions are criminal. So this isn't a problem. There's also more advanced ways of you can run that node over Tor, and then it's has a lot more anonymity and a lot more privacy. But this has not yet been a problem. And the probability of you being the one person that it could be the first person with that problem is virtually zero.
Also, I use the same analogy with $100 bills. You tested every one of them for cocaine.
Oh, yeah.
There's a high probability, sensitive to 20. You're going to break the law if you test them.
Right. So it's interesting. We brought that up yesterday as well. And so this goes into the matter of fungibility. Like a long time ago, the government of the United States had this genius idea of installing machines in every business to check how much cocaine residue is on a $100 bill. And if someone comes in and pays and you go through the machine, the business will say, I'm sorry, we can't accept that $100 bill. And those machines never were activated because even the United States realized they would destroy their own economy, because now there would be 2 different prices on $100 bills. And it would be a complete disaster and commerce might actually collapse. And the same attitude needs to be taken, the same attitude needs to be taken when it comes to Bitcoin mixers. Like, one Bitcoin should be no different than any other Bitcoin. It doesn't matter where it came from, just like it doesn't matter how much cocaine residue is on a $100 bill. It's a $100 bill. It's irrelevant, it's just a medium of exchange. So one day, every single Bitcoin transaction will be fully mixed with a bunch of other Bitcoin, and now you have full fungibility, because that full fungibility is actually better for economics. It has nothing to do with criminal activity. It just makes economics better from an economic perspective. And the US government knows this. They're just pretending that they don't.
You're welcome, sir. This gentleman right here had a question.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you already went over this, but what does the actual transaction look like when it appears on the chain? Is it basically 2 public keys saying the receiver, sender?
So he's asking, what does a transaction actually look like on a block explorer, let's say? Yeah, pretty much it's like a code A, arrow, an amount of Bitcoin to code B, to make it as simple as possible. It'll appear, you know, kind of as a string, and yeah, you can get more details, you know, like, but there's no name associated with anything like that. It's literally once you're in Bitcoin, you are a series of numbers and letters, and you know, the way that your public key is generated is through something called elliptic curve mathematical multiplication. So like, there's really no way to revert the transaction back to you. You're pretty much autonomous.
There's an awesome book that explains this in a simplish way. If you want to jot it down, or just go to Amazon and like order it. It's called Bitcoin Clarity by Kiara Vickers. Great book. It's an attempt to explain the technical side of Bitcoin to a non-technical person. That's what that book's about. Talks a lot about public and private keys, encryption, but it's done pretty cool with cool little pictures, and it explains it to, you know, a normal person. So Bitcoin Clarity is the book you want.
One point I wanted to make real quick about that question is that the actual transaction, the way it looks, if you look through the blockchain, is that it shows a bunch of inputs and outputs. The inputs are the addresses that the transaction is coming from, and there's usually more than one output. If I'm sending funds to Joe next to me, someone looking at the transaction may see one input, which is my Bitcoin address, and they'll see maybe Joe's Bitcoin address, which is one of the outputs. Then they'll see a second output, which is the chain transaction. We'll see one input and two outputs. One went to the person I'm paying to, and one came back to me. One was my change back to me. And so someone's just looking at it, they will have to guess to see which one was the change and which one was the actual transaction. So anyone who says that they know exactly how much funds are being transacted on the Bitcoin network, they're actually just guessing. They don't really know. No one knows for sure which transaction was the actual amount that was being sent, and which one is just change being returned to the original sender, which is kind of a cool obfuscation feature that's built into Bitcoin that a lot of people who are new to Bitcoin don't even know that exists.
What's the purpose of the change?
Because of what's the purpose of the change? Because of the way that a Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network recognizes Bitcoins, is they're all UTXOs. They don't even know what a Bitcoin is. All the Bitcoin network knows is a UTXO. So if you had sent me Bitcoin earlier, that would be one UTXO, one transaction. And then let's say you had sent me half a Bitcoin, for example. Thank you very much, by the way. And I'm paying Joe a quarter of a Bitcoin. The only thing that the Bitcoin network understands is that half of Bitcoin as a UTXO. And then it will be broken up to two UTXOs, 0.25 to Joe and 0.25 as change back to me.
Let me explain that slightly differently, but the same thing. So Bitcoin.
Thank you, Patrick.
Bitcoin is so incredible, but at the same time, it's so simple. Like the Bitcoin white paper is 9 pages. 9 pages to change the money as we know it. Only took 9 pages. Like, I've read ridiculous stuff that's like hundreds of pages. Like, it was like, so Bitcoin works very, very simply, but very effectively, because it has to. And a UTXO stands for unspent transaction output, basically, an unspent transaction. And the way Bitcoin works is, if you have, let's say, $1 million in your Bitcoin wallet, your Bitcoin address, and you want to send me $5, you're actually sending $1 million every time. You're sending $1 million. I get to keep 5, and you get to change back to yourself in a new unspent address. Okay? So it works this way to make it simple and secure. Okay? So you're setting the whole thing out. And this is where there's huge misconceptions on transaction fees. For example, if you do have $1 million in a wallet and you want to send me $1,000 from that million, you send out the whole million, I keep 100, you get the change back, which is a lot of change, but you get it back. That is a very cheap transaction as far as the computer is concerned. The computer doesn't know this is money. It couldn't care less. The transaction fee of Bitcoin is basically how much space you're taking up out of the 1 megabyte in size. And that transaction is very light on size. On the flip side, if you're a business,
that's selling little tiny trinkets for $5 each, and you spend a month selling these $5 trinkets, and you received 1,000 transactions for $5. You have $5,000 worth of Bitcoin, but it's comprised of 1,000 UTXOs. And now you want to send that 5,000 from the addresses you were receiving to, say, your savings. That is an incredibly expensive, heavy transaction. You're not sending one transaction, you're sending 1,000 transactions. And each one is data heavy. So that transaction has a giant transaction fee. And this was the problem that happened to Roger Ver, because his business was selling bumper stickers. And a very popular bumper sticker business and little pins and whatever. So when he's making 10,000 sales in a month, and now he wants to pay his employees, he's like, well, why am I paying $100 transaction fees? Well, yeah, because you're taking up a lot of space. And this space is valuable, because otherwise no one can run a node, like the Ethereum problem, okay? So you need, like, I'm sorry, your business isn't great for Bitcoin right now. Lightning needs to happen, and then the same person is trying to prevent, lightning from happening by delaying technological improvements. But anyway, I'm not going to get into the rabbit holes of that. But going back to the transactions, the opposite transaction is cheap. Once you've consolidated that 1,000 into a single UTXO, then spending from that single UTXO is cheap technologically on a transaction fee. The other problem with the transaction fee, and this applies to all blockchains, is that because Bitcoin needs to be a self-sustaining ecosystem of its own money, the transaction fee is in the currency of Bitcoin. Just like Bitcoin Cash and the Ethereum transaction fee is in the currency of that blockchain. The Ethereum transaction is denominated in Ethereum. The Bitcoin Cash transaction is denominated in Bitcoin Cash. So when someone says, our Bitcoin Cash transactions are so cheap, well, wait a minute. The value of, I call the smallest unit of Bitcoin Cash, I call it the Var, just like the smallest unit of Bitcoin is the Satoshi. The Var is 100 times cheaper than a Satoshi. So we're not comparing apples to apples here. Your transactions are in your currency, and your currency in dollar terms is significantly cheaper than the currency of Bitcoin in dollar terms. So at the least, you have to multiply the value of your transaction by 100 to even start off at the same level. So people don't realize that Bitcoin fees will rise as the value of Bitcoin rises. If Bitcoin goes up 10 times from here, the smallest unit of Bitcoin goes up 10 times in dollar terms. And your transaction is valued in that smallest unit for the bytes or the technological size of that data you're sending. So the Bitcoin transactions will go up in price by default with the rise in the price of Bitcoin. And a lot of people don't realize that.
So I really don't have anything to add to that, by the way. Well done, well said. Does anyone have anything that they want us to hit? How are we feeling right now? Like gathering
Joe,
information?
could you explain what Embly is? Because other people out there don't even know what is Embly.
All right, so let's talk about Embly and spending Bitcoin and stuff like that, because that's kind of something that we haven't really hit, and a lot of people are saying there's a kind of a narrative running around for the past number of months saying, and maybe even years, saying that Bitcoin is expendable. I have Bitcoin on my phone or whatever. How do I spend Bitcoin? So what Embly is, so what we're building out here in the USA for the Embly op is a debit card where you deposit Bitcoin to an address, and within 3 confirmations, that Bitcoin is then converted to US dollars that you can swipe anywhere in the world. So there's a handful of ways to off-ramp your Bitcoin, and a lot of them take time. Almost all of them require KYC. We're not necessarily going for bonus points or anything like that, but we are a service that just makes it so you have a card in your pocket. If you ever need to spend if you ever need your coin to be dollars, send it to an address, and 30 minutes later, 3 confirmations later, it'll be dollars that you can swipe anywhere Visa's accepted. So if you're stuck in Mexico, and you don't want to sell Bitcoin, no one does, right? But you need to, because you need to pay for something. You went out on a little trip, you're stuck out there, your Bank of America isn't working, you can't get a hold of anything. In fact, Tone has a similar story. He was stuck in South Africa, and I think you had to use the Embly card in order to pay
Yeah,
for it.
you'd be surprised how hard it is in some countries to exchange your dollars for local money. South Africa was one of those countries where even the banks don't even want to do a currency exchange. Like some countries, like if you go to Ukraine, you go to some other countries, especially Eastern Europe, there's an exchange rate on every single corner. And the spread is like nothing. It's like 0.02%, like something insane, like small, doesn't matter. And then you're in Europe at an airport in Europe, and the spread between the pound and the euro is like 50%. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's insane. And some countries, it's just so freaking hard to exchange your dollars. So yeah, I was in South Africa in like March of 2020.
Yeah, right when COVID was starting to get bad. I remember he was almost stuck.
Like they have like no banks. And like you walk into a bank and they're like, no, our bank doesn't do currency exchange. They're like, but there's no exchangers on the corners either. So it was just hard, and I think card really came in handy.
Yeah, so it's like, look, I believe just made by a Bitcoiner for Bitcoiners, and I look, if you're doing well and you want to swipe your card, and you want to throw some coin out there, and have access to it, hit it hard. Go ahead, have fun. If you need it as an emergency, do that too. But either way, this is another off ramp that doesn't require using some asshole like Brian Armstrong's fucking Coinbase. So, anyways, sir, over here.
Yeah, I wanted to thank Mr. Vays. He gave a lecture at PorcFest.
Do you want to come up and you say that on the mic?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, just hold that as well. Yeah.
I want to thank you because you gave a talk in 2018.
Oh, no, just hold it near you. Yeah, like that, perfect. Yeah, I just like that.
You gave a talk in 2018 about Bitcoin, and you recommended one book, The Bitcoin Standard by Safadine Moose. I was so impressed. I read the book, and it was unbelievable how it explained how money developed. And I read the book, and being the nerd that I am, I said, wait a second, on page 130, the lower left, there was an error in the stock to flow ratio. So I wrote to the Safadine Moose, and he wrote back, he goes, damn, you picked it up. 2 professional proofreaders missed it, but what a great guy. So that, if you get one book to read, the one you recommended, totally changed the way that I invested in cryptocurrency, if I did. And I want to thank you very much. Totally changed things.
Yep, shout out to Sam. We did a lot of shout outs on this stream.
And I hope you still have your Bitcoin. A lot of us lost all our Bitcoin in boating accidents and shit.
I know it's just terrible. The goat over there ate mine.
We're all broke here and it sucks, but you know what? We'll still learn about Bitcoin and teach other people.
Yeah, so the Bitcoin Standard is a great book. It's one of the 3 books I recommend right now. And the other one is the Little Bitcoin book by Jimmy Song and a few other people. And Bitcoin Clarity, which is a book I already mentioned. Yeah, so those 3 books are great. There's a really good, quick question from the live stream, and then we'll get your question as well. And the question is it's a good question. It's also good for people online. Let me get the exact question here. And it was, how do the companies that create these full nodes and custodial wallets, how do they make money? And this is the same criticism that how do Bitcoin developers make money? And this is a challenge. When you build open source software that isn't really monetizable, how do you make money? Like, how does a YouTube channel make money? Joe and I have YouTube channels. People think that YouTube...
Mine doesn't make any money.
Yeah. Like, how do YouTubers make money? Well, if you're a very popular YouTuber, those YouTube ads eventually add up, but that revenue is almost nothing. So how do they make money? Well, they make money in other ways. They make money in private consulting. They make money in being an expert in other ways. So these full node manufacturers, they do sell them So there's a markup on that, but the wallet that you're using, probably that wallet itself doesn't make money, which is why a lot of these wallets are from companies that are making money in other ways. For example, Coinbase makes their money not from the wallet, but from selling you Bitcoin. But you do have some independent wallets like Samurai, for example, or Edge Wallet, and they can't charge you inside that wallet. So how do these companies make money? Well, Samurai has a feature that tries to make private transactions on your behalf, and I believe they charge a fee for that. I don't know.
I think it's a 1%. Are you talking about the Whirlpool?
Yeah, the Whirlpool.
I think it's 1%.
Right. So they give you like some kind of features that charge it. A lot of them are donations, and a lot of them are like in the case of like Bitcoin development. There have been companies that raised money to pay high-profile developers. So now there are conspiracy theories as to, well, then how does that company make money? They have to put something in that code for their investors to make money. Not necessarily, right? Like, if you are a Bitcoin holder, the best thing for you, is that a goat walking around in the audience eating grass? That's awesome.
Wait a second. It identifies as a dog.
That's great. I'm gonna flip the camera. So you get to go to the front row. We have a friend named Ugly Old Goat. He would love this.
The camera's up here.
No, but I have a second camera.
Okay.
This is the Liberty Goat.
The Liberty Goat.
Liberty Goat. Come to the computer.
She's got diamond hooves.
Oh, diamond hooves.
There's
diamond
a
hoof hodler.
All right.
What were we on there? Because there was something I wanted.
Oh yeah, Bitcoiners and making money. Yeah, there's definitely consulting and stuff like that for a lot of these guys, or people like me and Tone, traders that
A lot of experience in trading
damn, I was in the wrong
volatile
microphone.
assets. But I'm gonna say, like, look, YouTube doesn't do shit for us. Like, honestly, and a lot of people. I'm not really trying to say I'm an altruistic dude here, but look, a lot of people are altruistic. This community is a community of attempting to basically propagate a revolt without a single bullet needing to be fired. A lot of us are very passionate about this. This is our life's purpose to many of us. And I don't give a fuck about money when I care about what the world needs and relative to what Bitcoin can do.
Right. So there are a lot of people that have gotten wealthy in Bitcoin, and for them, the best way to make sure they continue to get wealthier in Bitcoin is to make sure Bitcoin stays decentralized and technologically stable. So they are willing to spend money on Bitcoin development or time. Time is money. So they are either putting in their own time, like a lot of the people that were in Bitcoin early were the developers because they saw it, and they remain developers today. And some of them now pay developers so that they could retain their wealth. So yeah, some of these things are kind of altruistic, but in a way they're protecting their Bitcoin savings.
Yeah, that is true. If I was a Bitcoin billionaire, I'd be throwing money at smartest minds in the world, making sure that Bitcoin's the greatest Bitcoin it can be, But goes into another saying, Bitcoin is always going to be the next Bitcoin. It's one of my favorite quotes too.
All right, question in the back there. I'll let Joe handle this one. I'll be right back.
So Bitcoin as a use case and to basically live on Bitcoin is the topic right now. So now we're kind of entering a little bit of a world about how to be a ghost, Yeah, there's tons of ways, right? And these ways have existed before Bitcoin. With Bitcoin, I mean, it's probably going to be a little more like charging a Tesla. Can you drive it across the country right now, today? I don't know, maybe not. Maybe 3 years ago, the answer is probably definitely not. As the ecosystem grows, yeah, maybe you can end up in another country and you can exchange Bitcoin for goods and services directly or for native fiat. And that's definitely a possibility. Now with a service like Embly, yeah, you're not quite the ghost I want you to be. You have to KYC in the USA. If I wanted to be It's basic KYC. You know, like I said, KYC in the USA is just KYC. It's not like we have to do extra KYC if you spend more money or extra. You know, we're not blocking coin join transactions. We're not using chain analysis. So we're doing what on a regulatory spectrum is required of us. So again, I encourage people to use it as needed, or as they want. You know, it's a hell of a good time rolling around with a gold card when you're balling, right? So, but you know, if you want to be a ghost, Embly is probably a little more difficult for you to be that way. Like if you're talking about straight up ghosting through across the globe, being a Bitcoiner, which some people have done, and okay, okay. Yeah, Bit Refill was doing stuff like that. There are some options, but it's like, you know, to me, being a ghost means something else. Yeah, you can go to Bit Refill and you can buy an Amazon gift card and buy yourself, you know, some deodorant and some toothbrushes and stuff like that, and then, you know, use another gift card and go somewhere else. So, you know, I would say you can do it, and it's pretty like complex right now. You know, like the Tesla example. Even though I hate Teslas, you know, and you know, like Elon Musk said, he's not going to accept Bitcoin until it consumes 50% less energy. Well, everyone should stop using Teslas until they consume 50% less resources. But anyways, you know, it's like the technology is not really at a point. The technology is at a point. The world is not at the point to accept Bitcoin on that level. So yeah, if you want to be a ghost, you have to be a ghost, and you have to know the community, and you have to go to meetups, and you got to know people in Europe, and you're talking about the USA, right? But you know, I'm just saying you got to expose yourself to the community if you want to be a ghost, and you want to exchange your Bitcoin for cash directly, and you want to live on that, and you want to go to Bit Refill and not require, you know, any KYC to buy from this, you know, whatever company in Europe. I don't know if it's in Romania or where it was now. But yeah, you know, there are ways. Bit Refill was big. John Carvalho was there for a long time. He's off doing his own thing now, and you know, that was a great company. You could buy like phone cards, prepaid phone cards and stuff like that. So yeah, there are ways to do this, but I would say, you know, it's a little more difficult than I want it to be right now. I wouldn't recommend, you know, dedicating your life to that right now. I would say, like, you know, help the ecosystem grow, participate, go to meetups, find those connections, create your own networks, and then you'll be able to do that. Best way to find meetups, probably Google, to be honest. And then if you're talking local meetups, you just Google like local meetups, New Hampshire, whatever, you know. And in Manhattan, there's tons of local meetups. You know, there's social media stuff. You know, it just word of mouth. You go to a meetup, and next thing you know, you're going to a dinner with more Bitcoiners. And next thing you know, from that dinner, you met 8 people, and one of those guys is inviting you to a Bitcoin party. And next thing you know, you know, it just keeps going and ping ponging, right? So I just recommend exposing yourself to the community because, you know, look, we're all chill. You know, a lot of us are on the same page. A lot of us don't like the same things, and a lot of us do like the same things. So when you're surrounding yourself with Bitcoiners, chances are you're surrounding yourself with a lot of similar, like-minded people who you will respect. You know, sir.
Real simple question. Why do you recommend Blue Wallet compared with the other wallets that you've been mentioning?
Why do I recommend Blue Wallet as opposed to just let's say any other hot wallet? Let's just stay on hot wallets. Because I've used it, I'm familiar with it, and someone smarter than me was telling me that although it is custodial, the Lightning that channel is custodial. There are ways to make sure that your transactions are never censored. So that was why I stuck with Blue Wallet. There probably have been innovations over the past, you know, year or so, maybe 2 since I've been using. I don't know when Blue Wallet integrated Lightning, but there might have been some you know, some better, like Thor, for example. I think that's another wallet. There's a handful now, you know, and I just use Blue Wallet because Phoenix I know it very well.
Yeah, Phoenix is another really popular one. I mean, I'm not using any at the moment, so I will go down the rabbit hole of researching which one I should use. People love Blue Wallet for its ease of use,
yeah.
But the knock on Blue Wallet is that it's custodial. So technically, that Bitcoin isn't yours. They are technically in control of it. But it's also used for mostly Lightning transactions, and you should not put a lot of money into Lightning yet. So we are talking, you know, have a few $100 in there, yeah, and use it for like sub $5 payments, yeah, generally for now. So having that small amount of money for most people, small amount of money, is not the end of the world. The risk of it being custodial, and also over the years that they've been around, they kind of have a good reputation, which is not enough to trust, because if there is a lot of money in that blue wallet system, like who knows? And they have been, trying to make conscious efforts to eventually remove the custodial features from that wallet and make it more, you're in control of your own Bitcoin. And they've generally been good actors in the space. They haven't had any controversy on like many other people. Like even all those companies, like Brian Armstrong has had me, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, everyone familiar with who that is? He's had me blocked on Twitter for probably
the Bitcoin
5 years.
backstabber.
And Eric Voorhees has had me blocked on Twitter for years, like a lot of these people have.
Brian? I love talking shit about Brian.
So I'll make it simple. To me, Brian Armstrong is the equivalent. Like, imagine if Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, just hated online shopping with a passion. That's basically Brian Armstrong. He's the CEO of one of the biggest Bitcoin companies in the space, and he hates Bitcoin. Like, hates it a lot. Like, he wishes it never existed. He wishes the world was Ethereum and all the other shitcoins.
He publicly went 80% F bags. All right, so this is what I say about Brian Armstrong. Coinbase is a knife in the back of Bitcoin, and Brian Armstrong is the one twisting it. There's been a number of controversies with Brian Armstrong, turning in F head, right? Or just that's nothing, right? The biggest thing to me was when they hired Neutrino, also known as the hacking team. It was a group of developers that were known specifically for helping oppressive governments track dissident citizens and capture them. So this is what this is who fucking Brian Armstrong hired. He hired people to track you down, who are professionals at tracking you down with your, online, and sending you right on up to, some oppressive government's, hierarchy, and, when whatever the hell else after that, right? I hate Brian Armstrong with the passion. He's one of the worst things to happen to Bitcoin, but he won't be around for very long, I don't think.
Look, the company has done a lot of good for Bitcoin. They introduced a lot of people to Bitcoin. We're not going to knock on that, right? This is the company has overall probably done more good for Bitcoin than bad, even though it's bad to keep your Bitcoin on Coinbase. If you're going to buy Bitcoin from Coinbase, get it out of there immediately and store it yourself. It's a lot better that way. Otherwise, you're storing it with a Bitcoin bank. But it's the problem is the CEO of that company, and him and many others, including Eric Voorhees. Like a lot of these big CEOs of companies, they back in 2017, they felt that because they are economic nodes, and Coinbase is a node for 1 million people, so they feel that they have 1 million votes. And that's in Bitcoin, that's not true. Every node is a vote. If your node is responsible for 1 million people, you don't get 1 million votes. You still get 1 vote. But people like that felt that their vote counts as 1 million votes. And they were proven wrong when they wanted to force certain changes onto the Bitcoin system. And users like myself said no. And everyone that was involved in that coup will never earn the respect of the community again.
So if you want to get your money out of Coinbase, or get your Bitcoin somewhere where you can actually hold it, you mean like a cold wallet, or do you mean like a hot wallet?
Either.
Yeah, up to you.
It's up to you.
But just get it the hell off Coinbase.
So you get it to Blue Wallet, you're still not holding your own Bitcoin.
This is what I recommend. Well, I recommend Blue Wallet on chain is not custodial. Blue Wallet Lightning is custodial.
Good point,
okay, but Sam, I highly recommend if you have any coin that touched Coinbase or the hands of someone that's using Coinbase, throw it on a Samurai wallet and roll it up and anonymize yourself. Make those.
So what's the difference then between using Samurai wallet and Blue Wallet?
Because Blue Wallet doesn't offer a coin join service. What a coin join does is, it branches out a handful of people's transactions, kind of bundles them up, branches them into 1 million different addresses, and then reconsolidates them. So a blockchain forensics firm will not be able to say, Joe bought Bitcoin on Coinbase, sent it to address B, sent it to address C, and let's say I thought I was anonymous at that point. No, because they've been able to track that, right? My name is tied to the numbers, right? And letters. But once you throw yourself into a whirlpool, then you're mixing all the coins into dust, into, you know, big small pieces with, you know, combined with all these other transactions, and basically in one humongous like explosion of transactions, you have a return back to your Bitcoin minus a fee of, I think it's 1% for like Samurai's whirlpool, and now your coin's anonymous.
So why use Blue Wallet at all?
Because it has dual functionality with Lightning. So yeah, like yeah, I use Blue Wallet as my dual functionality wallet. You know, a little bit of coin on there for Lightning, and then Samurai is where, you know, everything goes to mix. Do I hodl with what?
Of course, yeah.
I hodl with a lot of things, yeah.
Yeah. So there are hardware wallets for sale right behind us. For those, I mean, we had this big discussion yesterday. Again, it's a triangle: privacy versus security versus convenience, and each wallet specializes in something, whether they're card or cold. Like, would you rather have a wallet that stores only Bitcoin, or would you rather have a wallet, whether it's hard or cold, that stores 100 different cryptos? Well, if you're looking to store 100 different cryptos or 10 different cryptos, obviously you need the wallet that gives you functionality of storing multiple cryptos. But keep in mind, a wallet that stores the functionality of 100 different cryptocurrencies can't possibly be as good at storing Bitcoin as a wallet that only focuses on storing Bitcoin. I mean, there's only so much development, there's only so much they can do. So wallets that only store Bitcoin obviously don't have as much usage as wallets that store a million coins, but their focus is the security of Bitcoin. So if the only thing that matters to you is the security of Bitcoin, you may want to stay away from wallets that give you the ability to hold everything under the sun. Go with a specialist at Bitcoin hardware. I mean, they're all trade-offs.
Yeah, sir. Ooh, interesting. I love. Do you want me to go?
Go.
I hate Jesse Powell. I think he's like a really sketchy dude. There's Kraken's had a lot of anomalies. As a trader looking at charts, I've seen a lot of death wicks on Kraken, especially around times of you know, upgrades, maintenance, whatever, this, that. And it's like, I as an analyst, I don't like anomalies like that. I think that there's something, I have to assume that something's going on. It can't just be some sort of fluke, you know. So I really don't like Kraken. I really don't like Jesse. I've never trust Jesse Powell. You know, he's not on Brian Armstrong's level to me, but I just don't trust him, and I don't trust Kraken. I think they've, you know, ruined a lot of people's lives by fucking them up with some, you know, nasty wicks.
I'm on the other side of this, so this is a very good question. I actually like Kraken. I don't use Kraken because I just don't trade there, but I don't have a problem with Jesse Powell personally. And they're a very big company. They're not as big as Coinbase, but they're close. And unlike Coinbase, so Coinbase has a greater focus on retail Bitcoin buying, and Kraken and the Coinbase also has an exchange. Now Kraken has both of those things as well, but Kraken focuses more on trading than retail buying, and therefore a lot more people trade on Kraken, and there have been a number of, you know, anomalies and weird things happening to the price of Bitcoin and especially Ethereum on Kraken, and there are, like, you know, class action lawsuits against Kraken for that. But I chalk that up more to some technological incompetence versus purpose maliciousness. And I do find Jesse Powell and the people that work at Kraken, a lot of them are good friends of mine, and they are way more like shitcoin minimalists than the people at Coinbase. So I like it better. I acknowledge the fact that there have been some questionable things happening on their exchange. But like I said, I chalk that up to growing pains of the tech. And while that's bad, I have not seen any evidence that it was malicious.
So I'm gonna add a cherry on top and say, yeah, I'm far less forgiving in certain instances. You know, I'm a very toxic Bitcoiner. I know Tone is too. And we have friends at Kraken, and I will add one thing that I do respect about Kraken, which is they are trying to implement Lightning Network. And I think that's probably one of the most important things that Bitcoin needs is the mass adoption of Lightning.
And also it's the fundamental culture of the company. Like here's a difference. Brian Armstrong was more than happy to send all the data of their users to the IRS and other US authorities, even to a bigger extent than was asked for. Meanwhile, Kraken stood up to it and they're like, no, no, we're gonna go to court on this because you have no right to these private records. So to me, that's the fundamental difference as to one is, and I'd rather stick to the one that is actually gonna fight more against government, invasion of privacy than the one that's happy to comply with
it. To Kraken?
Well, it depends what you're looking for. Are you looking to buy Bitcoin or looking to trade Bitcoin? If you're looking to buy, I mean, I recommend buying it the same way you buy your gold.
I would say, if you can P2P, go, but if you can use something like Swan, some sort of dollar cost average program, I think those are good platforms to buy Bitcoin while supporting Bitcoiners.
Right. You want to support Bitcoiners. That's a good point. So if you're going to buy it, I recommend a Swan as well, and also River. There's another one called River. I think they have river.com. So those two companies they're hardcore Bitcoiners, and they deserve support.
Yeah, just remember to think of it like this. Your voice doesn't mean shit. Your money does. And we know this. You can protest with 1 million people in the middle of Manhattan and nothing will happen, right? But your money does mean a lot. So where you place that money and who you give it to and what companies you help grow in this ecosystem matters. So I do recommend, your money is your vote, and vote for the right Bitcoiners. And Corey Clipston is a really good dude, an amazing human being, and he's an altruistic actor in the space. Mm-hmm. Sir? So the question is pretty much, how is media taking Bitcoin? How is it? I mean, this one can go for a minute. I've seen Bitcoin.
Well, we gotta repeat the question, right? So the question was, how does corporate media perceive Bitcoin? Not an easy question. Try, Joe.
Yeah, I think that and you did ask a lot of things. Do they think it's are they just ignorant about it? Do they know what it's capable of? Right? They know what it's capable of. This is an unstoppable force, Bitcoin, and I don't know what the path of least resistance on there is going to be. But to answer your question, I throughout the years that I've been watching, TV shows here and there where Bitcoin was brought up, it was usually in a negative context. Obviously drug dealing or some sort of illegal activities from a hacker or some shit. Obviously that's the narrative they're trying to push. In other countries, they're straight up saying that if you buy Bitcoin, you're freaking, doing what terrorists do. The narrative on Bitcoin is pretty bad by governments because of what it is going to do to them. It's just a matter of time. So yeah, I don't think they're ignorant of it. Obama straight up said back when he was president that Bitcoin is like having a Swiss bank account in your pocket. That's absolutely true. It is an absolute threat. It's a direct assault on central banking across the globe. It's a change, a paradigm shift for thousands of years of worth of hierarchical behaviors with money. So they're not stupid. They know what's coming at them, and they are going to try to punch back. Let's see how hard they hit.
I think it's a hard question because a lot of it depends on which experts they bring on to interview. A lot of it depends on, the producer that put that story out and who they learned it from. I remember in the Obama days where, Bitcoin was popular when Obama was still president. And there was that story where the first time Obama inquired about Bitcoin, it was at some dinner. And he turns to the CEO, one of the founders of Google, and he asked him about Bitcoin. And while that sounds like a great person to ask, what does that guy know about Bitcoin? Like, you're too busy running Google. When do you have time to learn how to run a node? And this is a general problem. Like, eventually people become experts in their field and they don't have the time to keep up with the latest research. And this is how we're in this, like, I don't want to turn the discussion to COVID, but I mean, a lot of the doctors, they're not following like the whole, it was mostly the young doctors that like recognized other solutions. And when you go with the, and this is a tough decision, like how do you know who the experts are? And the same thing happens here. And in the media, they just hearing stuff from left and right. And for me, for me personally, I don't know, everyone's different. I find that, like, I understand how the general media, A, has their own agenda. I mean, they don't want to give up their system. And B, they're slightly misinformed. But I have a problem with those that are misinforming them, the so-called experts that have somehow managed to convince the SEC that Ethereum wasn't the security at launch. Because to me, a bigger threat to this movement is the shitcoin space versus the traditional space. Bitcoin can take down the traditional banking system, but it can't take it down when, you know, we're all fighting each other. And the reason for that is because everyone in this space wants to print their own money. I'm going to quote my friend Vortex, who is no longer in this space. He moved on to something else. But he had an amazing tweet, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago, where he just tweeted, I got into Bitcoin because I hated that all these countries were printing their own money. And now I'm in a world of crypto where everyone is printing their own money. So what has changed? So I felt that Bitcoin was strongest in 2013 before all of the altcoin movement started. And now the crypto space is all fragmented, and until people realize that all of these altcoins are basically the old fiat system of guys printing centralized money at will, Bitcoin's gonna really struggle to take over, you know, global money. Yeah. And well, one last quick thought. I know we all grew up in fear of one world government and one world currency. But here's where the mentality needs to change, because Bitcoin being that one global currency is a good thing, not an apocalyptic thing. Because unlike the apocalyptic version of a one world government and a one world currency, no one controls this one world currency. So having one world currency being Bitcoin will free people, not imprison them. And that should be the push, not fighting over which fiat crypto by some 14-year-old can actually win, because it can't.
Yeah, my one thing before you ask your question is, I often say people come into Bitcoin one of two ways: voluntarily or kicking and screaming. And, you know, Bitcoin having done what it's done over the last few years, a lot of people feel like they're buying kicking and screaming, you know. So just keep that in mind. It's, you know, the shit coins might clutter the space a bit, but don't go for that 1000x anomaly trade.
No,
he was first.
Yeah. Real quick, what makes Bitcoin technically superior to a lot of the altcoins on
All right.
the back end?
My answer is really quick. So my answer to this one is just super fast and simple. You cannot replicate decentralization. As hard as you can try, it's never going to work. The technical stuff we can go in all day on, but you cannot replicate decentralization, which is, in my opinion, the most important thing that Bitcoin has successfully achieved that anything else can't.
Yeah, it's decentralization. It's not.
Is Ethereum centralized?
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, look, who's this leader?
Yes. Like, what happens to
who's this leader? What does he look like?
What,
you know,
right.
What does he sound like?
It's the bus test, right? What happens to Ethereum if Vitalik gets hit by a bus? Or even worse, what happens to Ethereum if Vitalik is arrested, right? And now he's cooperating. What happens to it, right? Now you can think, oh, it becomes more decentralized. Yeah, but we've already seen with many projects, when the leader and creator of that project leaves the project, no one cares about that project. right? This is like the tragedy of the commons situation, right? Like Dan Larimer has left 3 projects that were supposed to change the world. And the moment he leaves them, they're done, right? If Charles Hoskinson leaves Cardano, what happens to Cardano? Each project has a leader. And when that leader leaves, everyone moves on to the next hottest project.
How was Bitcoin able to bypass that?
We call it the Immaculate Conception.
When Satoshi left, right, this is the thing. Bitcoin bypassed it because it was the first. And Satoshi left so early that Bitcoin had to evolve with no leader. And that is just not replaceable. We would need a whole new technology, like something like I don't know what the next technology would be. Maybe it would be like
decentralization
telepathy,
technology.
right? When you can like talk to people, like it has to be something on a completely different level. Innovations like Bitcoin don't come around very often. I was listening to another presentation, and one guy is like, "Look, you take a house, in the late 1800s, right? And then you go 50 years later, and now that house has the innovation of a phone. It has the innovation of running water. It has the innovation of electricity. Like, how much has that house advanced? And then you go 50 more years, and you have all that stuff plus the internet. And now you got to go another 25 years to have one more innovation, Bitcoin. I'm sorry, Bitcoin is a once in a generation innovation. And some guy 3 years after Bitcoin is not going to do anything better.
It's a once in all of human civilization innovation.
Okay, no, we got a question right there. Absolutely not. No.
We call it Bitcoin trash. And just about everything that, like literally everything that is not Bitcoin is a shitcoin. All of them. Monero is trash. Tone, do you want to go? Some people, we were talking about it briefly last night that, hard forking is not the enemy. Obviously if you need a hard fork, you need a hard fork, but it's hard to get the consensus required for something like that. Monero is just repeatedly hard forking to try to, prevent miners from being able to.
Well, we can get into like the weeds of the social and technological side of every single altcoin, and they're all a little bit different. But look, we're traders, right? I was trading traditional markets before Bitcoin existed. And like, if you're gonna make money, you can make money, right? There is a difference between trying to change the world for the better and making and being able to buy a Lambo. These are 2 very different things. If you want to trade horse manure to make more money, that's fine. If you want to trade penny stocks, stock market, currencies, commodities, altcoins, if you're trading them to make more money, that's great. But you don't want to like hold on to them for the long term, because their long-term projection is zero, just like any other fiat currency.
What exchange would you trade on?
So I'm a pretty public person with a lot of eyes. I talk about it because I only trade in my retirement fund that is regulated and with the U.S. government. So I don't trade anywhere else other than that. So I stick to that.
So what I would say is I'm an American citizen, and I break a few felonies a day apparently. But
yes, you do
every day. So yeah,
every
but I recommend if you're not a U.S. citizen to use something like an exchange like Bybit or something like that. Bitfinex is one of the worst exchanges in my opinion, but I hate it. Me and Tone probably are on different sides of the spectrum on this one, but I think Bitfinex is one of the biggest money laundering schemes that's ever, one of the worst things that's ever happened. But we could go down this one, but quickly, iFinex is the company that owned Tether and Bitfinex, and Bitfinex lost a lot of money. It was about $900 million were seized, nearly $1 billion were seized in near October 2018. And what iFinex did was, I think, order Tether to print up tethers that were not backed by US dollars, and then they sent them over to Bitfinex to buy Bitcoin, causing an artificial increase in the value of Bitcoin. That was that rise from 3K to 14K. And they were printing hundreds of millions, a day. Exactly. There was the premium on Bitfinex too. So I hate Bitfinex with a passion. I think that they are nefarious actors. I don't believe there is such a thing as altruistic market manipulation. I recommend iFinex was the corporation. No, that's not an exchange. That was the corporation, the parent company of both of those two. I would recommend, if you're not an American citizen, or if you come to America and you're not if you're let's say you're a citizen of the UK and you come to the USA and you need to use a VPN, I would recommend lighting up that VPN and using something like Bybit.
Something that we probably shouldn't talk about publicly, especially if this being live streamed. So I don't trade there, but look, everything is a trade-off. You can trade with a regulated U.S. exchange. You can trade anonymously on foreign exchanges. Everything is a trade-off. It's risk. When you have unregulated exchanges, there's a higher probability of the creators of that exchange running away with the money. At the same time, there have been instances of these unregulated exchanges, when they were taken down, still be ethical enough to give people their Bitcoin back. There was also instances of American people running exchanges that were borderline on the regulatory structure that ran away with the money and the CEO disappeared. Now
Canada's Quadriga.
But he was Canadian.
Canada. He ran off with like 40,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah. So anything can happen. Now, when you trade on an unregulated exchange anonymously, there is obviously a higher risk of your Bitcoin disappearing if that exchange decides to exit scam. But at the same time, the risk of, let's say, government freezing your money is a lot smaller because they're unregulated. So and they're not in this country. So they're all risks. There's different risks involved, and it's up to you to decide. Like, we can't say what is the best place to trade. I don't have an opinion on Bitfinex personally.
I could say, like, look, I've used test nets. I've seen a few test nets out there. I've seen a lot of platforms. I think Bybit's the obvious solution. I think it's the best one, the least order submission errors. In fact, I've never even seen one. Whereas BitMEX, for example, will have order submission error after order submission error. And if I can't make a trade, if I can't close a position that I'm in, then I can't trust that exchange. So, as I've, checked out some of these test nets, I found that, look, Bybit is a Chinese nationals operating out of Singapore. And, the laws for KYC are very different out there. Don't require them, basically.
So, America has this problem of thinking that their rules and laws, the American rules and laws apply to American citizens no matter where American citizen is. But they're starting to think that their rules and laws apply to every single person in the world, no matter even if they've never heard of the English language in their life, right? So eventually that is going to end, or enough countries are going to stand up to them, and hopefully Venezuela kicked off that hornet's nest. We'll see where that ends, because at the moment, the only countries that America can't tell what to do are Russia and China. Though there's a few others, like I guess North Korea and Iran, that they can't exactly enforce their will on. But the U.S. regulation seems to be able to enforce their will on all the others. And we'll see how long that lasts, because Bitcoin is going to make it a lot more expensive for them to police the world.
100%. Sir?
I've been obsessed with trying to contextualize things like technological evolution, Bitcoin phenomenon, and actually do think it's essential to greater context built around it so that it can sort of people can understand it more. And what I've come up with is basically how humanity has gone through these stages. We started as hunter-gatherers, went through agriculture, then industry, and now emerging into technology. But each of those has had its own centralized structure or way of viewing the world.
Yeah.
Agricultural phase was seeing everything through symbolism.
Yeah.
Shifted to the centralized church. And then in the industrial phase, it was
So let me kind of bring this on the camera. So
question.
basically, what you're kind of like what's going on right now is the gentleman's talking about how over time humanity has done certain things to scale. This is actually called the Dunbar number. Like so, a caveman with sticks and stones may be able to hunt a deer could feed 4 people for 2 days, right? And then they came up with farming, and then they came up with agriculture and farming and livestock, right? And then they came up with mathematics and religion, and so society continued to scale to a point where central leaders at each point along this path were able to govern larger numbers in a society and a population while maintaining order. So that's where we're at now. So what's the question?
Hey Patrick, what's our schedule?
Uh-huh. 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 So no, so the question was kind of like, how do we continue to scale into like this community, like particularly and this how this community impacts the globe, right? How do we continue to scale this community and without leaders and stuff? Is that kind of what you're saying? Yeah, it's a lot of stuff like this. I mean, honestly, run a node. You're now one of many node operants, and you get a vote. You're the amount of money that you have has no say on how powerful your vote is. There's tons of things that Bitcoin was designed to do to make sure that it can scale to large numbers of people and they can have a say, that in a decentralized manner. So as far as governance is concerned and hierarchy being transparent in many facets of life, the corporate structure, leadership, governance, all kinds of things, right? I actually don't in leadership in armies even, right? You need coordination, and in many things you do need centralization. But I think with something like the anomaly of Bitcoin, right, it's very possible for this to grow without the need for centralized leadership, because you have a large number of people who know what it's capable of sitting here, telling you what it's about. And then I go to, my first Bitcoin meetup, I was a deer in the headlights, but I learned. And then I went to the next one, and I went to the next one. And then now I'm sitting on the stage talking to you, so it's a growing process. And eventually you'll be one of those people too, who knows the Lightning Network, who says, hey, download Blue Wallet and let me show you how Lightning Network works. That's how this community is going to grow. And it's just peer to peer. It's pretty much been that way the whole time.
Oh yeah, Joe, we gotta wrap this up.
Yeah,
There'll be
yeah.
another panel on here in 20 minutes, guys.
Yeah, we went way over.
We really went. We went on.
I loved it, by the way. I absolutely loved it.
I would love to turn on charts for the live viewers. Unfortunately, my computer isn't updating them. So what is the price right now? We're down to 32,000 on the price of Bitcoin. 31,600. So we're dropping like a rock. And unfortunately, guys, I cannot update my trading view charts. Now, this is going to be a problem for the next 2 days, potentially. So I'm not really sure what to do here. This is for the live stream viewers. So if the current price is down, I'm just going to draw a line. I'm looking at my phone. We're at $31,700 right now as I speak. So where is that? 31,931.7.
Oh shit, we are fucking falling.
Right.
Well, there's some support down here at least.
So we're about to get an MRI buy here, and we are dropping. Like I kind of predicted that today would be a big drop day, but I kind of thought it would happen from a slightly lower level. Yeah, so we're obviously not going to go all the way down to $24,000 today, because we're still above 31,000. But if current day or tomorrow comes all the way down to the $26,000 area, and I know that's a huge drop. It's a $5,000 drop in 48 hours. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm also not ruling it out if that is to happen. And it really sucks that it happens on a weekend because of the earlier question. I trade GBTC in my retirement fund for tax advantages and the legality of it. So I will not have the ability to buy this dip if it occurs on a Saturday or Sunday or early Monday morning. But if by some miracle this dip is happening on Monday, well, by technical analysis charts, will no longer be the perfect buy the dip for other reasons. But I would love to load up on Bitcoin in this buy the dip area of the mid $20,000 range. This drop is not very good. Oh, and by the way, Joe, at some point this weekend, we got to address the McAfee situation because everyone keeps asking.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it now, but.
Well, I got a lot to say already, like when we're ready. Yeah.
And yeah.
For those of you that don't know, he committed suicide.
Yeah, just like Epstein.
He was suicidal.
Yeah, we're gonna get back to that, guys. I'm gonna try to get my charts updated somehow on my trading view, and then we can take a look at the price more effectively. Right now, I am still waiting for a good buy the dip or buy the breakout. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. All right, on this note, we gotta log off. Hey guys, I have my business cards right here. So go ahead and grab those. And Joe's cigars are right here as well.
I'm gonna
we can't give those out, unfortunately.
Is anyone a cigar connoisseur here? A cigar connoisseur?
Any cigar connoisseurs in here?
If someone was able to look in this box and identify one of these cigars and knew how good it was, then I'd give you.
Bye, guys.